Hi, so today I'm going to show you how I do lettering using Hatch. Now, I've got the new Hatch 4 and I love it. I'm still needing to set things up on it as I had it, and but so far so good. So I use a lot of lettering. I digitise my own lettering, but I just wanted to go through just some basics which might help you and things to look for, just so that you have the best opportunity of getting the best embroidery out of what you're doing. So, and it's just my way of doing it. It might be completely different from somebody else's way of doing it, but I can only show you my way and hope that you find this really easy to do. So yeah, let's dive into Hatch 4. Right, I'm hoping you can see the screen okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into lettering which is already on the system in Hatch 4. I'm still learning Hatch 4. I had Hatch 3 and 2. But there's some really good updates on here which I really wanted, so because I do so much digitising of different things that I just thought the multi-blends and things were going to be really good for me. So yeah, let's have a look and what we're going to do. Hold on a minute, I'm just going to take that off there. Right. So to start with, when we go look at lettering, we have a lettering toolbox and the lettering's at the top. So we click on that and it brings up this box here. Now, there is so much we can do with lettering. I mean, lettering, we could do months of videos just on lettering alone. So this is just a really entry beginner's level of what I do. Doesn't mean to say it's right, doesn't mean to say there isn't other ways, better ways maybe. This is just what I do for me, which I find works. And then I will do another video on how you do your own letters, because a lot of the time if you're doing company logos, the designers won't use a font that is already known. They'll come up with something completely different, and therefore you might not find something to fit it, and you'll have to design your own letters. But by doing this, I'm going to show you how you can take apart letters so you can see really it's an education process of knowing how other people have put letters together. So when it comes to you doing it, you can understand the principles involved in building letters so that they look professional. And so that's kind of the entry steps before we even start looking at digitising our own letters. We need to know the foundations of how we go about it. So this is what we do. I'm going to want to do the words I'm unique because, long story, I went to the dentist and I had another tooth out and it was a root canal, and I've actually got 3 roots instead of 2 and 4 roots instead of 3. So I just, every time I have a tooth out, I've got extra roots. So he always said to me, you are so unique. He said, you are very unique. So I thought, right, I'm going to do some sweatshirts because I'm sure I'm not the only one that's unique in different ways. So I'm going to be doing sweatshirts with I'm unique and also caps with unique on. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to do it, is firstly I'm going to enter the words I'm. Now I could do I'm unique and return it. However, it gives me much more flexibility to separate the words because I don't want them really on the same line, and I want to do something fancy and maybe turning and things like that. So, and I don't want the second word affected by what I'm doing to the first word, so, or abbreviated word. Now, so we've got I'm up, and you can see that at the moment we're using block 2, and block 2 is the parameters for the sizing is 6 to 20 millimeters a letter, and you'll find that all of them have got listed here. Now we won't go into any other type of font, we're just going to do these for now. And I'm after what am I after? Handy Script, that one, and that has the parameters 20 to 50 millimeters. So, and it's on 10. So I'm going to change that now, because you want to set the size really to start with of what you want. Okay. Now with these letters, you can see that that's joined. There's like a little, there you go, there. So I can either leave that like that, or I can tell that to end here, and that is a separate entity. I'm fine with it being there, but what I do want to do is look at the other options. So it's on satin. I want satin with auto spacing. That's fine. You can have different effects. You can have hand stitched. No. Feather edging. Well, that's different, but no, I don't want that. And you can do it both sides, different sides. And then you've got all sorts of different fills which work better when you've got a much wider letter. So I don't need any of those. So stitching wise, it's got a centre run. Sorry, I've got the dogs barking. Hold on a minute. Right, okay, I'm back. I've got a very old dog and it's very hot today in the UK. Right, okay, where were we? So I've got a centre run, which is good, but I'd like the letters to be thicker. I don't want them to be flimsy and thin, because if it goes on a fleece, it's going to disappear, you're not going to see it. So I tend to up the pull compensation. Now that's made that very close together. So what I'm going to do, there is different ways of doing it, but this is the way I do it, just because. And I can see a few things where there's an end stitch here as well. So what I'm going to do is break it apart, and then you'll see it's now in different sections. It was all in, if I go undo, it was all on one. If I break it apart, which is under edit objects, break apart, and then you separate it down. Okay, so you've got the I apostrophe M. And if I go into the I, I'm going to go into stitching first, and I am going to go down to this. Oh, I don't know why it comes up. I've got that on there anyway. So we want it to tie in before the object, because basically, let me do reshape. We want it to tie in before the object because it's the first letter. It's not got a run stitch to it or anything like that. So we want to tie in. So we want always, put always, or you can put on whatever. Move on, put on. Tie off after the object, I want that on, and I want an automatic trim on. And then I want to move this to the bottom and this to the top. Now I don't want it to go right to the end, but you can see, can you see that stitch? Can you see it? That's where your finished stitch is going to be, there. And the first one will be there. Because if you put them right at the very end, you'll get a knobbly bit. I just think it looks a bit untidy. So then we go on to this one, and we need to select it, move it to where I want it, that's fine. Then go back to reshape. I can see that the start was there, it was going to take that jump stitch across, which I don't want now. And so I need to look at these options again, because they'll all have changed again. So tie in before object, on. Tie off after object, on. Automatic trims, on. And then I'll grab this and I'll put it down the bottom there, and I'll move that up a little bit. Ooh, sometimes you have to zoom in. There you go. I don't want it to be too lumpy there though, but that's what I'm going to do. So let's go down to the M. This should be tying on because it's not coming, there's no jump stitches to it, so, but it says tie in before object off. So we're going to on, tie off after object, on, and automatic trims on, because it's got nothing, no jump stitch to it, no jump stitch to another letter after it, and it's a literally standalone letter. So yeah, and then we need to look at where we want it to start. I like starting at the bottom, and this one here, that's where it would have finished, and I want it up there, and then it's moved that point up to there. It just means that looks tidier, and so that is my wording. Now I'm going to break all these down further for you to see, but I'm going to do it with unique as well, because I think the more you see it, the better it becomes. So we need to go to select, we need to come off the M, and we need to go back to lettering, and we need to put unique. Ooh, sorry, just showing that, I don't want that to move. Did you see all of that just now? Hope so. So go to lettering and unique up there, just like that, and you'll see it come here. Now what am I going to do to start with? Well, I am going to check the satin, I don't want that one, and the stitching. I want the full comp to go up, and you'll see that as that's going up, the spacing is getting tighter. So you can see that you're going to have problems. So come down to where we were. What we need to do is go back, and we need to change legend. So we're going to do handy script again. I think I bought this as an extra font from Hatch, and I do like it. So that's going to go up to 30. Okay, we're going to move it down out of the way of that one for a minute. Don't worry about positioning yet, just make sure your sizes are right, because otherwise you might have to check everything all over again. All your tie-ins and things like that, I've noticed, can change when you size up or down, so you might need to change everything again. So look at the way it is as it's come up, so that's fine. I'm now going to up the compensation to 70. That might have got a little bit further over, so I think, do I need to touch it? Let's do undo at the top. No, it's pretty much as it was, so that's fine. What about the curl in the unique? The unique curl has obviously got closer. That's got tighter. We can tweak that. We can tweak that later. I can show you. So what I'm going to do is, because I've changed the size, although it looks all right and it looks like it's all going to flow, I am going to check, I'm going to break it apart. So I'm going to go there, I'm going to break apart. Now you see it all listed down separately. I'm going to go to the U, I'm going to look at the tie-ins and tie in before object on, tie off after object off, because we want it to run into the N, automatic trims off. Okay, that was on. So what we're telling it is, it's the first letter, so it needs to tie in at the beginning. It's going all the way through to the N, but then it's going to run, we're going to make it run through the N all the way through those letters without stopping and starting. And then what we have to do is we'll go to reshape, and we'll look at where all of these starts and stops. Well, the start's down here, so we're going to think, where do we want that? I'm going to put it up there. And we do want that. You can see it comes to here, and I do want that there. So that's fine. Now we do the N. So we want tie in before object off, tie off after object off, automatic trims off, and then we need to see the start and stop is, okay, needs to go off a bit there, and the off, we can see that ends sort of there. Do I want that there? It's going to cause a bit of bulk here, so I think I might bring it back to there, and actually I could shorten that down again. I can show you how to tweak things, but that's fine. Then if we go to the I and go back to the N, we can see there's a bit of difference that needs to come to here. So first of all, we're going to do this: tie in before object off, tie off after object off, and automatic trims off. So all we need to do now is try and get that to where that ends and that begins. It's roughly fine. And this we want, I'm going to put it to about there. Okay, so then we go to this one and we go off, 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 because we just want it to run straight through. We want to see the stop's going to be there. This is going to be, let me check, going back there. That's pretty good. And then we'll go to the U and we'll do the same again. Off, off, off. And then I want to check, I want to toggle between the two. So that needs to come down a little bit to there. This one needs to come to there. We're down a little bit. Then we do the E and we go off, off. Hang on, unique, it's Y, it's the last letter. So we need to tie off after object on, and automatic trims on. Right, so with this one we need to, the final stitch is here. Where is, oh, this down here, there we are, it's down here. So we are going to put that towards the end there, and we're going to keep that nice and clean, nice clean lines. The U and the E, so it needs to come down a little bit, roughly. And basically that's that. Okay, so what I could do is regroup it and keep each of those lines together. Oh, I need to select, sorry, it's getting late now, I'm getting tired. I need to group, and I can group this one, group, and then I can ask it to put some colours. I don't want red, so you've got a little jump stitch just there. Well, that's fine. So I'm going to look at that one, and you've got a whole selection of colours along the bottom. It's just an idea for you. You can choose any of those. So let's say we'll have 6, and then you can hide that, and you've got the 2 colours up, the red and the pink, or you can discard them. I just hide them because sometimes it's just easier to think, oh, I need a colour just for now. I'm doing something and I want that to stand out a bit while I'm working on it, and then I'm going to change it back, so I just hide them. And then if you go to threads, you can go there and you can actually drag across whatever threads you use. I've got Madeira Classic and Marathon. So I did have Isocord, which was showing for a while. I don't know if it's still on here, but I've taken it off. I think it takes a little while for the bottom row to actually catch up with what you've done, so just be aware of that. Sometimes that will still show up on there. So what do I want? I'm going to, you can actually take all that detail off by doing that, so you can just have that if you want it to give you some more space. And you can just, if you want the pinks, you could just click there, or if you've got the code that you use, the thread you use, or the name, you can put it in up here. So you can do it so many different ways, and you know, there's no right or wrong. I quite like that one, so I'm actually, that I want as that. But then that's very similar to the top one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that one and make it that. And it tells you it's the 1027 Pink Cerise Marathon. It comes up on the bottom line here as well. And it also comes up on the summary. So you've got all to do your stitches, how many stops, how many trims, all of this. And also your thread colours will come up on here. And if you scroll across, it will come up again with your marathon. It tells you all your stitches if you charge per stitch, or how many stitches. It also, if you do a preview, it will come up with that, so you can print this off if you're doing a complex design, and you can see, you know, what you're using. It will also say this will be sort of number 1, that will be number 2 if you've grouped it, and it will show you at each part of the design what each colour relates to, which is really, really good. So it's kind of like a mapping system. So yeah, so we've got that like that, and basically if I wanted to highlight that one and move it over, I can do it. If I then want to turn that one, I can turn it. There is so much then it allows you to do. Now you couldn't do that if you did I'm Unique on just one of in the same one box. By splitting it into the 2 boxes, it gives you the flexibility of doing all this. So I hope that's pretty clear to start with. What I wanted to just show you was that if I ungroup this and we look at this U, now this is really good, I think, in learning how letters and numbers and things are constructed, because, and they're all done different ways, but it's a learning tool. And when it comes to you doing your own, and say all logos, most of mine have always been completely different, I've had to do my own, it's good to understand the construction of how to go about them, and the underlays. Always go for a centre run, a zigzag, never an outline stitch, because if you get push and pull, you'll see that line and it will look off. And a lot of that though is to do with your stabilisation and all of that. There's a lot to it, but by actually removing that and doing a centre run, I find it much easier for me. So we're going to take this U, and what we're going to do is we're going to go back to edit objects, and we're going to break it apart again. So we're going to break apart. What you'll see is that will have gone, I'll undo it. So that was the U, and we'll do redo, and it's broken it into 2. So it means that is now, hang on, I've highlighted the 2 bits. That is now 2 different pieces. Okay, so I'm going to do undo, 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 because I wanted to show you on, if you go into, hang on, undo again, there we are, that's a hole. Right, so back to the U. If you go into reshape, which is there, you can actually see that that is drawn as 1. Hang on, let's zoom in. It's there, it's 1 piece, and that is another piece. So if we go to the N, that will be 1 piece, that will be 1 piece. If we do the I, that looks like 1 piece, yeah. This one looks 3 pieces. So the Q, they've done 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. Let's have a look. Yes, they have. So that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. And this one is on top. The line is on top of those 2, which go underneath of it. So look how they construct them. Is it over top of something? Is it underneath of something? How? This is underneath of that one. That's resting on top of that one. And the E, I think is 1. Yeah, they've just brought it underneath. So even though it's a continuous piece, you always take it under by a mil or two, just so that it doesn't, if it pulls apart, you're never having a gap. So, and it's one continuous piece. The other thing you can do is, let's go back to the U, and we are going to break it apart again. Now you can see all the angles. So if I were to, you can remove stitch angles there. Now you're just down to the nodes, all right? You can add stitch angles, because what happens is when you've removed your angles, it literally will go with the angle of your normal stitch angle for the whole thing. It won't be individual angles, and what you should ideally do is have all of them go in at 90 degrees. So let's do add stitch angles, so you can see what happens. All right, so if we take here, it's kind of going this way on an angle, and we want it to go there, so you have to go from the outside across. Oh, hang on, add stitch angle. There you go, let's put it in. So, and then we do add stitch angle, and we want this one to be, and it will tell you the angles there, so you can get all your angles exactly perfect. So don't quite know what I'm doing, but add stitch angle there. Can you see how now it's going that way? So at the moment I'm showing you here, those angles go this way. You can move an angle like that, and it will then change the angles. If you've got angles there, you don't need to delete them, you can move them, you can add them, and there's just so much you can do. So with this being bulky here, if you take a node and move it in, you can tweak it. Now, not all fonts you can do this to. I've had some which you can't, but sometimes you can just sort of play around with it and just work it to how you want it to be. So there you go, you've got a gap there now. So yeah, and this really helps, I say, knowing how things go on top, things go under, how you run the stitches through, how you get a flow so you're not finishing and then starting again, so you've got a lot of bulk of casting. I say casting off, you know what I mean, my brain's not thinking straight, but you know, you'll get a bunch of stitches there and then there to start and stop. You just need a flow, you just need flow basically. Yeah, so, and then say I wanted them all to be in that pink, I would just highlight them. I'd probably group them again, and because I've already got that pink there, which is here, I just select that down at the bottom, and then that goes to pink. It's just so user friendly. I just absolutely love it, and I hope that this has been just a really easy, simple tutorial. Please let me know your thoughts. Please share and like and comment, because it all helps, and I'm trying to do these tutorials. I've got to get the business out there going and selling more things. There's so much to do, but I do know that a lot of people out there are digitising, and they're having a whole load of difficulties. A lot of people are auto-digitising, and that can bring its own set of challenges that can be harder than if you know what you're doing and do it yourself to start with. And I think everybody who knows how to digitise realises that rarely do you get something which you can auto-digitise and it will be all right. You'll always have to do some tweaking, and sometimes it's just easier to do it from scratch. So yeah, anyway, that's it for tonight. I'm going to load this up to YouTube, and as I say, this is just the way I do it. Not everyone will do it the same as me. There are a huge amount of different ways of doing it. You've got all of your different letter spacings here and your angles and all sorts of different things. But for now, I'm just showing you this way because I know this works for me, and I know there's lots of people out there that just want something simple that they can do to just make their things that little bit more professional and a bit better, and this will really help you. And yeah, let me know how it goes. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next video, and we'll be learning how to digitize letters ourselves. All right, you take care everyone. Bye.